noticed that every mass poisoning in America, it seems, just happens to take place in black communities? I mean, think about this. Flint, Michigan, right? Detroit, basically. Lead in the water supply. Not a small amount, a massive amount, a potentially fatal amount of lead if consumed over time. Highly toxic, highly damaging to the development of the human brain. It was deliberately put into the water supply. There was a massive cover-up, carried out by white people, by the way, and it targeted specifically the black community of Flint, Michigan, which is predominantly black. And this is just one of many such cases. In the past, there was also this poisoning in the Washington, D.C. water supply. Well, who lives in Washington, D.C.? I'm talking about the residents there, not the bureaucrats who commute in, but they go home in some other rich community. The people living in D.C. are black folks, predominantly, and that's where the poisoning took place. Think about the vaccine autism link cover-up, which was admitted by the CDC scientist known as Dr. William Thompson. He confessed to it. We've carried it on our website, naturalnews.com. You can read his confession. He says that he and other scientists at the CDC covered up statistical evidence, scientific evidence, showing a link between vaccines and autism in who? Young African-American boys. Not white boys, African-American boys. So we got the water poisoning in Flint, we got the water poisoning in Washington, D.C., we got the vaccines all targeting black communities. And that's not all. Look at the cancer industry in places like Detroit. And we've covered this extensively on Natural News. The cancer industry, it is a racket that they have predatory business practices that target black men and black women because they know that those people will have more aggressive cancers because of their skin color, which blocks ultraviolet light from the sun, which generates vitamin D. So the black communities tend to be vitamin D deficient. And as a result, they are more lucrative to the cancer industry. And so these predominantly white-owned cancer organizations, for-profit businesses, they set up shop in low-income black communities, and they offer free screening so they can falsely diagnose black people with cancer so they can make a fortune treating them with chemotherapy that they don't even need. And in Detroit, working inside the Karmanos Cancer Center, or the Karmanos Crichtonton Cancer Center is what it was called, was Dr. Fareed Fatah. And he would recruit black people, and he would tell them they had to have chemotherapy, and then he would order them to be compliant, that they had to do the chemo with him, sometimes for years, while he kept billing Medicare and Medicaid insurance companies. He was raking in a fortune with a false diagnosis, committing absolute criminal fraud, preying upon the suffering and pain of black folks, while he was pocketing millions of dollars and making the whole cancer industry rich because they were selling, the chemotherapy chemicals to him that he was marking up and selling to the black patients and billing the government. These people didn't even have cancer. And Dr. Fatah eventually was arrested. There was a whistleblower inside the hospital who blew the whistle. And he was arrested, prosecuted, and sentenced to 45 years in prison. But if not for this whistleblower, he would have been continuing that practice to this day. And so that's just another example, but let me wrap it up for you. Again, water poisoning with lead, black communities, vaccines, and autism, predominantly black kids at risk. Not only black kids, but there's a higher risk with black kids. Washington, D.C., water poisoning, black community. Cancer industry, predatory targeting of black women and black men because that's who they know are the most profitable. So let me be blunt here. You probably know, my name's Mike Adams. I'm the health ranger. I run the science lab here. I'm a scientist. I'm a food investigative researcher. I'm an investigative journalist. I've won 3 journalism awards for investigative journalism. I'm a whistleblower. I'm an author. I wrote the book Food Forensics. What else? I run naturalnews.com. I have seen that there is a genocidal overlay to the medical system as it is operated today. It's not just the medical system, but really the entire public health system is probably a better term. There is a racist, genocidal targeting of black people, and it's more insidious than I think you can imagine. It's not just that they want to make money off the suffering and pain of black people in the cancer industry, for example. It's also, if you look at this water poisoning, where they knew about it and they covered it up. Look, I'm an expert in heavy metals. This is what I do in this lab. I test for heavy metals, okay? Lead causes mental retardation. It is one of the most well-known, well-documented side effects of lead exposure, or lead consumption. It's no coincidence that this poisoning in the Flint, Michigan water was literally dumbing down kids in the black community, and that these white people knew it was happening and allowed it to happen and kept it happening and covered it up and refused to warn the public, and they were trying to get away with it for another decade. You think this is a coincidence? I'm here to tell you it isn't. And the reason I'm going public with this, as obviously a white guy, is because, in the black community, black folks can talk to other black folks about this, and they can say things like, yeah, there's a genocidal, there's a racial targeting, genocidal agenda of the medical system, and some other person might say to them, oh, you're just saying that because you're black. I'm saying it, and I'm white. I guarantee I'm white, last time I checked. This is real. This is happening. The black communities are being specifically targeted by the medical system. The black communities disproportionately suffer under the mass poisoning of the water supply, and also, by the way, of the food supply.